You don't hear no echo, do you?
No, I don't hear one.
Alright. But yeah, everybody that's here backstage, you can go to Facebook. We live on Facebook right now. So it'll probably be easier for you to watch it on Facebook than backstage because StreamYard will kill your battery. I'm saying I'm looking rough. It's all good. It's still, yeah. All right, we're just waiting on Marquise to come in. We gonna get it cracking. We gonna get it cracking. Yes, quarantine debates. We in this hoe.
Quarantine debates, man. Do you want to remind the people what the time format is?
Well, we ain't even we ain't went over it shit.
Well, I guess I'm the moderator. I go over. We good.
Yeah, that's your job. I sent you the link.
Yeah, I got it.
There you go.
Yo, I couldn't get in for a minute. It say the studio full.
Yeah, bro, because I guess that's why I had to ask you, like, yo, because there's people joining like backstage. I'm like, why is people joining this? Like,
excited.
why is people here? I mean, I was glad niggas was showing up, but I was like, shit, wait, what's happening?
George Lee, what's the word, man? What's going on?
Hey, man. I'm just here to see, you know what I'm saying, some great edutainment. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, tell me to get their popcorn ready, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, hey, y'all get y'all popcorn ready. You feel me? Y'all done heard about the blurs. You feel me? The black nerds. Y'all done heard about the black activists, the black activists, all that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all probably even heard of a black academic. You know what I'm saying? The black academics. What y'all about to get right now is some shit y'all can't even, coin a term. You know what I'm saying? Words right now because I feel like it wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be giving it just due.
Hey, that's what it is, bro. See, this what we used to always do back in the day. So all we about to do is what we did back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Domo, are you live on your page? Oh, we live on. Okay, I see what it said.
Yeah, we live on the chop up. So I said, yeah, we're gonna do what we usually do. We're going ahead and get it shared while y'all come on in, man. We about to talk about it because everybody been going back and forth about it. We about to go ahead and put a you know what I'm saying, put the fork in it, finish it off. Joe Biden.
Ooh, I can't wait for this, Domo. I can't wait to see them slides, all the stuff you got for this. You gonna need it. I'm telling you.
Hey, man, I'm just coming with facts, bro.
Hey, just to make sure we clear. This is a Joe Biden vote versus no vote debate, correct?
No vote. Yeah.
Biden versus no vote. Yeah.
Okay. And just so we clear, so I feel like going back over the speech guidelines and the speech things that both the opponents agreed on, and just so the viewers know, the opponents have agreed to a 8-minute opening speech, 6-minute rebuttals, 10-minute rapid fire speech, and a 5-minute closing. That's 4 speeches in all. You know what I'm saying? There's 4 speeches in all. I know my people, they got short attention spans, might not be able to tune in the whole entire debate, but we're going to do our best to get y'all the highlights. You feel me? I'm talking da-na-na.
Yeah.
Who's speaking first?
Dominique.
Yeah. I guess you consider me affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you would consider me affirmative.
Yeah. Do you have a timer, Domo? Do you have a timer that you can put on the thing for people, or
do I have a timer? I don't think I have a. Let me add yours, but I don't think I have a timer.
I got a timer. I might have one.
Go ahead, get it started.
Wait, where can I share the link to this set?
Just go to the chop up page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the Chapel page on Facebook, or they can go to my Facebook page. I also shared it.
Okay.
And that's on both of my pages at The Conscious Lee that you see on the bottom right there, as well as my personal George Lee page, I guess, you know.
Okay, I see it. I'm gonna share it.
But it's highly accessible, you feel me?
Yep.
While we go get it shared, let me make that official banner.
I'm looking rough during quarantine, so no video, man.
It's all good. We all looking rough. It's all good
right
though.
There, Marquise? You see that? That's a fro. That's a fro under my locks. It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, and I'm not as bold enough as George to just be like, see nothing. Y'all good. Y'all don't need to see nothing. What's happening under here is between me and this hat. You know what I'm saying?
For some reason, I assume the MacBook came with a timer. You don't come with no timer on this thing? Well, you know what we're doing? We're going with the watch, man.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm using my phone.
I mean, yeah, I got a timer for myself. You feel me? George is just gonna have to, you know what I'm saying, hit boys with the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just make sure niggas watching their own. You know what I mean? But for everybody that's joining us, George, go ahead and fill the people in one more time real quick about the debate. What we talking about? The debaters, go ahead and do the MC thing. Make it official, because this will be going on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So go ahead and bring it in, George.
So right now what we have is a debate between a political plug and Marquise, or formerly their sides. Domo or the political plug will be debating voting for Joe Biden into literally defending the idea that black people should be voting, you know. And we got Marquise, you know, and he will be debating no voting. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to vote for black people don't have to vote. And you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure we might maybe even get you don't need to vote. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to put no words in the opponent's mouth. As you see, they got 4 speeches that they have plenty of time to, I think, be very eloquently be able to, I feel like, describe what their argument is. So we got 4 speeches. The first speech is 8 minutes. That's the opening. That's the opening constructive. They'll be laying down their argument, kind of the key arguments they're going to be defending this debate. Also, kind of outline maybe some key terms. Their second speech will be the formal rebuttal. You know what I'm saying? That'll be 6 minutes. The third speech will be a 10-minute rapid fire. You finna get this work. This right here, bring your popcorn. Yes, it's 10 minutes. So my people that got short attention spans, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all. You feel me? We'll try to get y'all in Sports Center highlights. And then last but definitely not least, we got that it actually is kind of the least because it's the last, you know what I'm saying? It's only 5 minutes. But we have the closing speech. And I feel like in this speech is where both of the opponents will try to persuade us as the audience, as well as me as the moderator, of who won this debate. You feel me? That 5-minute speech, that last speech is going to be able to be the shakedown. This is why Domo fucked up. This is why Marquise fucked up. This is why I won. This is why you lost. Those type of things like that. Opponents, y'all ready? And also, Domo is the affirmative. He'll be speaking first.
All right. So I just want to say what's up to the people first. You know what I'm saying? Definitely thank y'all for joining this. It's a conversation that we love to have, that we consistently have. You know what I'm saying? And it's an important conversation, regardless of who you agree with, because of the people that you spending your time with right now. It's gonna be edifying. You're gonna learn something. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, we'll get into my opening. I'm not rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would not be rapping like we used to back in the day, but I do want to start out by you know what I'm saying, sharing my screen real quick. I got a little information that I'll be showing.
Is this speech time, Domo?
Nah. Nah. So actually, what I didn't add was that it's a 5-minute prep for both debaters. You know what I'm saying? So okay. you don't gotta just jump into the next speech. It gives George time to interact with the audience and the audience to interact with what's happening in the debate. So let me go ahead and get it set up. Can y'all see my screen? We good? Can y'all see my screen? We good?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the timer. All right, we're gonna start the timer now. All right, so why with all the nonsense that's going on, specifically with Joe Biden, why would black people still be talking about voting for Joe? All right, it's real simple. When it comes to black political pragmatism, the lesser of two evils is the reality of politics, specifically for black people today. Now, what we got to remember is we're not talking about what we want politics to be. We're not talking about what we're moving forward. We're not talking about what we're moving towards. We specifically talking about how do we deal with elections that coming up, politicians that we got to deal with right now. You feel me? Not a utopia of, this is my perfect candidate, but the people who are actually making decisions that impact my life right now. How do we deal with that? How do we engage with that? And then in terms of political engagement, the lesser of two evils is the strategy that has benefit when we talking about black people. Now, Marquis will tell you, or he'll pose the question, is there a lesser of two evils? What's the distinction between the two, right? Because what he is going to have to do is he's going to have to overgeneralize the entire conversation in order to kind of focus on this question of, well, it's white people, it's whiteness, it's society, and all of that shit, right? But if you actually look at the nuances of what's happening in politics, you will see that there is a lesser of two evils. When we look at one bad situation, there is a worse outcome that we could be dealing with. And if we're talking about strategizing and to engage who we consider, to be the enemy, or who we consider is causing the impacts and the harms that we deal with in black communities, then we need to know how to deal with those circumstances. Now, when we talk about the lesser of two evils, in a study entitled Racial Winners and Losers in American Party Politics, they use data to show what the lesser of two evils look like. For example, across the 16 years of Democratic leadership in our data, the black poverty rate declined by a net of 38.6 percentage points. By contrast, over the 20 years of Republican presidencies, the rate of poverty for blacks grew 3 points. That's a lesser of two evils. Across 35 years of Republican presidencies, black unemployment went up at a net of 13.7 percentage points. Across 22 years with Democrats, the black unemployment rate fell 7.9 points. That is a lesser of two evils. Black incomes grew by 23,281 across 26 years of Democratic administrations. Black incomes also grew under Republicans, but much more slowly, less than 4,000 across 28 years. That's a distinction. That's a difference. You feel me? This is what those numbers look like. Annually, a difference between of $754 in a black household. That's a huge difference. We can see when we allow certain politicians and certain political ideologies to control politics, even though they both suck, there is one that gives us a clear worse path. There's one that clearly has an issue. Now, why are we focused on, or how does this apply to Joe Biden? Well, specifically because Joe Biden is just Joe Biden. He's the Democratic candidate. That's who we got right now. Trump is worse. We have to deal with him specifically. We have to get him out specifically. Why? Because he trends along the same lines of what we see in the data that was just presented. For example, in Trump's tax plan, a study by the Public Integrity Center showed that between 2019 and 2025, many Americans earning less than $30,000 will see their taxes increase until their effective rates are actually higher, as much as 0.7 percentage points more than if the new tax law had not passed, right? So the people making less than $30,000 are going to pay more in taxes because of the tax law, all right? That's not only a bad deal for the poor, it has a disproportionate impact on blacks and Hispanics. Nearly 40% of black households earn less than $30,000, followed by 30% of Hispanic households, according to the Center's analysis. Only 22% of white households earn less than $30,000. So because of Donald Trump's tax plan, not only are we dealing with a government that we feel isn't even representative of us, we are now going to have to pay more to keep that government afloat. We're going to have to pay more to focus on that infrastructure while the people that's making the most money that we work for are paying less because specifically Donald Trump. This is the lesser of two evils, moving away from what this nigga is doing. Now, what's even more dangerous when we talk about getting Donald Trump up out of here is what's called the Trump effect, and how Donald Trump's election has made white supremacists who are already considered dangerous for black people in the United States, he's emboldened them. He's made them more dangerous. And a study entitled "The Effect of President Trump's Election on Hate Crimes" explains that under this view, the election of President Trump may have validated his campaign rhetoric. It may have signaled to would-be hate crime perpetrators that the grievances President Trump raised in the campaign, including concerns about economic pressures caused by immigration and the security risk posed by Muslims, were shared by a significant cross-section of the American population. We hypothesize that this in turn may have given hate crime perpetrators a sort of permission structure to engage in acts of bias. Our analysis finds that President Trump's election coincided with a statistical significant surge in hate crimes, even when controlling for alternative explanations. And counties that voted for President Trump by the widest margins experienced the largest increase in reported hate crimes. If the validation theory that we propose in this essay is correct, then the surge in hate crimes may continue throughout President Trump's time in office. The fact that reported hate crimes have continued to creep upwards during President Trump's time in office seems consistent with this prediction. White people are more dangerous because of Donald Trump. Him being in office validates a lot of shit that makes political engagement and moving politically more dangerous for black people. If we already in a situation where we know we're dealing with a government and a group of people that are diametrically opposed to black people participating, living, existing, then in a world where we know we have to deal with them, we have to make dealing with them as strategic, as beneficial as possible. We have to mitigate that relationship. And one way that we can mitigate that relationship is by understanding that, okay, we aren't going to get choices that we agree with because of the political landscape. So how do we use the choices available to be strategic for black communities? That's what our focus needs to be. If we focus too much on the fact that we're dealing with whiteness and we're dealing with racism, then we literally theorize ourselves into an armchair. We make ourselves useless because we spend all this time thinking instead of dealing with the material reality. That's it. That's time.
Are we doing cross section?
People, what do y'all think so far, man?
It's on you, pimping.
Make sure y'all be sure to comment right now. It sounds like the overarching argument that Dominic is making, Trump got to be out by any means. And that Republicans, based off of the statistics he's presented to us, is not good for the black community. Next up, we got Marquis coming up. Marquis is going to be, of course, not only countering what he's saying, but specifically talking about maybe why black people don't have to vote, maybe why they shouldn't vote. But be clear to hear what he's saying in terms of the nuance, because I'm sure there's going to be, a little bit of it. You feel me? Marquis, I'm going to shut up now. And, whenever you're ready to go, just let me know so I can hit the timer and we ready.
Definitely. I just want to say thanks to the people for tuning in. Appreciate you, George, for moderating. Appreciate you, Domo, for your speech and just for you. So I'm going to start off this debate now. I feel the words of Malcolm X are ever so important. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6, there's no progress. If you pull it all the way out, that's not progress. Progress is healing a wound that the blow made. My position is that voting in presidential elections does nothing toward the liberation of Black people. Not only does it not aid in liberation, it can harm more radical efforts. This is especially true in the context of Joe Biden, a known segregationist, Mr. Tough on Crime, aka Tough on Niggas, and a neoliberal Obama Clinton Democrat. Contention 1, Biden is anti-Black as fuck and should never be endorsed. My first point is the crime bill of 1994. Joe Biden was a chief architect as the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. During this period of time, Biden referred to his position as working to get things done. And apparently he didn't agree on anything with those segregationists. I guess Kamala Harris exposed that was a lie with his support of segregation policies just a few decades before this bill denying cross-city busing as an issue of federalism, which we know is a dog whistle for racist agenda making. This bill contained things like the crime bill that contained things like 3 strike minimums, life sentences for repeat violent offenders, instruments we're all too familiar with and how they produce terror and disenfranchisement in the Black community, something Domo statistics about income variance can't account for. Also, the next contention on the way Biden is anti-Black is Anita Hill and misogynoir and gender violence. Women in particular, and Black women remember who Joe Biden was and says don't endorse him. Joe Biden has a long history of antagonizing and violent behavior toward women, and he doesn't deserve Black people's vote. As Senate Judiciary Chair during the time Anita Hill brought up allegations against the then Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, during the trial, Biden actively suppressed Anita Hill's testimony by failing to call Anita Hill's witnesses 3 other women that could speak to the workplace environment that produced credible evidence against Clarence Thomas. Joe Biden also sat back and did nothing to intervene when Republicans attacked her. Biden apologized to Anita Hill, though, and this was her response. The focus on apology to me is one thing, but he needs to give an apology to the other women and to the American public, because we now know how deeply disappointed Americans around the country were about what they saw, and not just women. There were women and men who have just really lost confidence in our government to respond to the problem of gender violence. This is the same Black woman during this press session described as having erotomania by Joe Biden, which means an excessive desire for sex, meaning there's no way Clarence Thomas could have been sexually harassing her. We've seen these tropes mobilized against Black women throughout time. Joe Biden is no exception to the violence committed against Black women, and for that doesn't deserve to be voted for. My next contention, again, he's a segregationist. Joe Biden sponsored a bill that asks for powers that will limit the court's ability to order school desegregation. This is the same individual that touts his legal record of working in the projects with Black people to understand them and all the important pro bono work he did in the Black community, while this freshman senator supported this bill and went against the man by the name of Jack Greenberg, who's appointed as the successor of Thurgood Marshall, who told Biden just what he was, a segregationist, claiming that the bill Joe Biden supports throws a brick through the window of school desegregation. In that bill, there was an attached appropriations bill that barred federal government from withholding funding from school that remained segregated despite court orders. Also, it's important to note that Biden was not the only Northern Democrat that supported the bill. 14 other Democrats supported it. Again, that nuance will be important later. Again, Biden touts this time frame as him just needing to get shit done and work across party lines, like with that crime bill just a few decades later. After the failure of his anti-integrationist efforts, he authored another bill that barred federal courts from ordering busing plans unless the courts found evidence of discriminatory intent. Thankfully, this failed. Next contention, Trump. Black life under Trump or Biden will be relatively the same. Joe Biden's Black agenda is laughable. He has no substantial policy initiatives that will move the needle for Black people in this country. The best policy he has is Obamacare, and we know how watered down that was, with the promise of a public option through the expansion of Medicare and Medicaid. Outside of that policy, all of his plans for Black people are just the greatest hits of things you need to say when pretending to support Black issues. He mentions things on his website like housing development, Title I funding, clean energy promotion, and disincentives to not allow pollution in Black neighborhoods, and also gives this brief nod to the violence against Black trans women, and saying that he will do something to address that. His plan for Black people might be one of the worst out of the Democrats that ran in the election, versus Warren's robust planning initiatives or Pete Buttigieg's Douglas plan clearly stand out in that category. Again, nothing will change under his presidency outside of potentially the repeal of Obamacare and his influence on the court systems, in which I will get to later. But that is not a justification for supporting a segregationist. That is not a reason to support someone who literally antagonized a Black woman when she brought up how she was sexually harassed in the workplace. And he not only did nothing, he allowed for her to be scrutinized in front of the world. Next contention. Voting in presidential elections since 1980 has done nothing toward the collective freedom of Black people. As the Manhattan Institute notes, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was followed by an increase in Black elected officials. In the Black South, Black office holders grew from 100 in 1964 to 4,300 in 1978. By the early 1980s, every major city in the U.S. with large Black populations, such as Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Washington, and Philadelphia, had elected Black mayors. Between 1970 and 2010, the number of Black elected officials nationwide increased fewer than 1,500 to more than 10,000. Yet, the socioeconomic progress that was supposed to follow in the wake of these political gains never materialized. During an era of growing political influence, Black as a group progressed slower at a rate than whites, and the Black poor actually lost ground. Social scientist Gary Warfield and journalist Carol Osney, when they assessed the progress of Blacks in the 1970s and 80s. It's interesting. Domo brings up this picture graph about income growth during Democratic presidents versus Republicans. Unfortunately, that argument is a slippery slope, and the reason you should be real critical of charts and data. The reason why that is a slippery slope, because that chart does not point to the ratio of income variance between Black and white households. It only says that there's been an increase from one period of time of another. But when you're thinking through racial disparity, it's about the ratio between the various ethnic groups, not just the increase in household income, which is also a problem with this overall, the sort of logic of his argumentation, because literally there's no time frames in which that data is being assessed. What presidents are we talking about? Are you saying that literally income has increased from the 1880s to 1960? Well, of course, that was a natural increase due to things like inflation, etc. But that does not speak to a decrease in racial antagonisms and the nature of structural violence against Black people. Again, be suspect of these data claims. Also, Biden claims that he's an Obama-era Democrat. That means neoliberalism. That is one of the key interlocutors of violence against Black people. Remember when Obama came into office, who he appointed on his transition committee, John Podesta. Who is John Podesta? A known Clinton sympathizer, a known Clinton watchdog, who literally led to the appointments of people like Timothy Geithner, who oversaw the stimulus bill, which just gave tons of kickbacks to Wall Street individuals, which means that Biden will follow in that same trajectory and appoint Clinton-style Democrats to oversee COVID-19 stimulus efforts, and that money will not trickle down in your pockets and will go to individuals who ultimately seek to destroy Black communities. And that's the end of the day. You should not believe the hype of voting. It is a mythology and anti-Black. Especially
man. Hey, man, I don't know about y'all, but I think that we got some great rocking ass edutainment right now that's specifically about Blackness and Black people. So that's some shit you ain't gonna get nowhere else. Sprinkle a little flavor on that, man. Next up, we got 6-minute rebuttal speeches. You feel me? And this is where the opponents just
hold on. Let me
argument a little bit more. That first 8 minutes they presented, you know, this is why we should vote for Joe Biden. This is why we should not vote. Now we about to have some of that engagement. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all comment who y'all think is winning right now and what specific arguments and policies has caught y'all attention. Domo, you up, man?
Go ahead and start my prep. We got 5 minutes. I ain't gonna take the whole, you know what I'm saying? But just start it right now. I got some. Talk to the people though. You know what I'm saying? Keep it going. Yeah,
man. So y'all make sure I'm gonna make sure shout out to all of y'all right now that's tuning in, whether you tuning in live or you tuning in after the fact, man. Right now, I think we got a great debate going down that I feel like a lot of Black people should be thinking about. You feel me? I feel like whether you feel like we should be investing in the political system or you think that we should be investing in the political system as Black people, I believe that you need to have some substance and content to be able to, I feel like, describe and or persuade folks on what point you want to be able to make. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of times when election time rolls around, a lot of people jump on to whether Black people should vote or not in a real shallow conversations. You feel me? I believe that the uniqueness in this here conversation that Dominique and that Marquis is providing for us is some real like policy, historical analysis, some real political, social impacts about Black people specifically. Because, you know, a lot of times folks gonna give us that big old broad, you know what I'm saying, paintbrush, and they ain't gonna talk about niggas, Black people, African Americans, you feel me, dark-skinned people, you know what I'm saying? Right now, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the Black community specifically. So make sure y'all keep that in mind when y'all listen to Dominique and Marquis give their arguments.
All right, how much time are you so far?
Man, I didn't have time to go on, honestly.
We would say like 250 or 230.
Yeah, next time I switch to the other one.
All right, you can stop it
on my phone and only having to watch. You feel me? So yeah, I make sure I keep that. I write that down. How much time you say y'all left, Domo? I mean, Marquis?
I said 230.
He used 230.
Yeah, I said I didn't take time. I'm just saying that seems fair. Like
Domo,
yeah.
what you think?
That's cool. Yeah, that's
Domo
cool.
got 230 left.
That's cool.
In the for everybody watching, what we call that is prep time. You feel me? Like it'll be real hard sometimes for debaters to just automatically start speaking right after the other person got done speaking. So this right here, when you get 5 minutes collectively throughout the debate to just prepare your thoughts, prepare your notes. You feel me? And get ready to, I think, really think about what you about to say in that next, you know what I'm saying, speech or whatever. Because, you know, we want to make sure that you really engage in opponent's arguments. A lot of time, y'all on Facebook be doing this pseudo-intellectual shit where y'all think y'all debating and y'all ain't really engaging on some point-for-point refutation in terms of what did the person say to you in that comment above yours. A lot of y'all just be typing away and you ain't even engaging with the person saying. So this is what Damo's doing with this prep time. So all that to be said, one thing y'all take away from this, take a little prep time for y'all before y'all start keyboard warring and trying to debate about whatever y'all be debating about these days.
All right, let me hold on. Change the banner real quick. Just drop that
And rock with us in the comments, man. So far we got the opening speech go. Damo finna get ready to go. This
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
All right.
6 minute rebuttal.
All right, and start the timer now. Check it out. That man just got up here and said that an old white politician who been around for a minute is racist. Duh, nigga. We know that. Ain't nobody that's talking about voting for Joe Biden out of the lesser of two evils is apologizing for any of the bullshit that he did. All the criticism is valid. All the criticism is important. The conversation, the discussion, to keep it going. Like, we rock with Anita Hill. You feel me? There's no question about his impact on the 94 crime bill. Yeah, we know that. The question is, though, in a world where that is his past, but we know the present of Donald Trump. We know what we're getting out of Donald Trump now. I mean, he tells you to quote unquote be skeptical or be wary of the data, but the data was clear over what a certain amount of years of Republican administrations. You feel me? Now we can get deeper into it. We had an 8 minute, you know what I'm saying, joint. It's clearly cited. If you want to go take a look at the information, you definitely have the capability to do so. But him calling out those statistics, he didn't touch the Trump effect, right? He didn't touch the fact that Donald Trump has shown that where he has rallies and where there are places that people vote for him, that they double the amount of hate crimes that occur in those areas. Double. That is an immediate threat. So while we going back and saying, yeah, Joe Biden did this shit in the past, yeah, he was problematic, and those things need to be discussed. those are not reasons why we should still allow for Donald Trump to keep his job, right? Now he's saying, yeah, I don't like Biden. That's fine. But let's look at the current circumstances. Let's look at the fact that we now have to pay, black people will be paying more in taxes because of Donald Trump. That is a current effect. When we see the trend of Republican policies causing black people to lose jobs, Donald Trump continues that effect. So when he says, oh, it's just all the same, that does not give him the ability to just ignore all the statistics that show that that's not fucking true. Now, he makes the argument that doing nothing. He makes the argument that that nothing that has been done currently has had any impact on black life, right? But if you clearly look at the statistics, that says that that's specifically not true. Also, if you look at a study entitled Judicial Politics and Sentencing Decisions by Elmer Cohen and Crystal S. Yang, things like political affiliation, what we see, for example, with Republican appointed judges giving defendants an average of 2.4 months longer in prison than Democrat appointed judges, 4% more than the mean sentence length. This is the direct impact. So it's easy to just overgeneralize the entire argument and sit back and say, well, racism exists, so we shouldn't do anything. But when we see that there's a clear lesser of two evil situation where we know we're going to have to deal with anti-blackness, we know we're going to have to deal with whiteness, we know we're going to have to deal with racism, all of those things exist in this playing field that we have to move, but there's no explanation of how doing nothing actually challenges that. Literally in the midst of a world where racists are inspired by the man that's sitting in the Oval Office, we're saying that, yeah, allow him to be there. We have a responsibility to, whatever lane that we able to do it in, to challenge these things. And Joe Biden isn't a solution. He doesn't solve racism. It mitigates the situation. The Trump effect is a reality of blackness. It is a reality of a material reality in terms of what impact it has on our ability to live, our ability to make money, our ability to be, to thrive. And in a world where we can sit back and theorize and say, oh, these things are bad, so I'm not going to do anything, when we have the capacity to not have to deal with the worst situation and letting that rock, nobody that votes for Joe Biden has to apologize for Joe Biden. Nobody that's saying we want to get rid of Donald Trump at all costs has to point the finger at Anita Hill. The maturation of black politics is understanding what you got to deal with. This ain't an ethical game. This ain't a game where we able to actually participate, and then all of a sudden everything crumbles, everything falls down. We literally have to find ways to make the situation easier for the people that can't do it for themselves, for the people that can't vote. Because at the same time, while they saying, well, we shouldn't, they being told that we don't want you to. Republicans are passing policies with the backing of the Trump Justice Department, allowing a Republican dominated districts to deny people their ability to vote. They're taking away our ability to vote. At the same time, black people sitting around say it's points.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, for my non-policy debate people, you know what I'm saying? The irony right now of me telling somebody that it's the time, you know what I'm saying? Y'all might not think it's a joke, But to my real policy debate family, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know right now, me being the moderator, telling Domo the time is going up, we can shut the hell up. You got a little iron to it, you know what I'm saying? Nonetheless, though, make sure y'all comment who y'all think are winning so far. You know what I'm saying? What argument do you think they're winning? You feel me? And make sure y'all like, share, and comment. Next up, we got Marquise. He gonna be rebutting what Domo just said. It's the 6-minute rebuttal. You feel me? And I'm about to shut up. And I'm gonna let Marquise get going.
Do I get prep time?
Oh yeah, you get prep time. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know how many. As a matter of fact, I'm finna start the. Hold on. Let me start the timer. Let me start the timer. Yeah. All right, you can start.
Yep.
Yeah, man. And y'all see that these opponents is respecting each other's opinion, and you can tell that it's illustrated based off the preparation time they're taking. I feel like the reason why I'm bringing this up is I see a lot of bullshit dialogue that happens while I think that nobody in the comment section or nobody in the video is really giving any credence to their opponent's arguments, and therefore it's not really a civil conversation. You feel me? In debate terms, it's two ships passing the night. There is no engagement that's happening because you just ready to launch off some shit. You know what I'm saying? So remember, preparation time is key. All these dropped arguments. Okay, you know what I'm saying? We got Reddington, Eugene Velvet, shout out to Darius, you know what I'm saying? The defendant, see the champion, you know what I'm saying? Damn, all those dropped arguments. He says it's a 3-0 for the negative right now. He said we apparently taking away our vote to Christina Marie says that we're apparently taking away our right to vote as good as supposedly vote as anti-black.
Listen,
now, right?
listen, nigga, come. Hey, we don't do them. Oh, he dropped arguments. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Reddington Velvet, aka Derek, says this whole Biden is better than Trump. Obviously,
thank you, Keegan.
Claims. Furthermore, those stats only look at a portion of Black life.
Boy, Keegan,
Sarah Evans says that Marquise got me with that's the shout out. Haitian Jack says if Marquise can win, Joe will also increase anti-black violence. The debate is over. Christina Marie says exactly. People think that just that this is just about presidency. They forgot about the Supreme Court and all those judgeships that these GOPers are trying to fill for life, for all life in caps. That's very important. Ben Allen said, better pick it up if you're going to get to all those arguments on the floor. That was in reference to Domo talking about Marquise. Man, shout out to the debater of the decade, you know what I'm saying? The queen, the Q Chains. I said Q Chains. The Q Chains, damn it. You know what I'm saying? Robinson tuned into this debate. They say they love it. You feel me? Keegan Tomey, you know what I'm saying? One of my old homies that used to debate with me on the OU debate team, also debate with Domo, says 2 ships passing in the night. Said, but only seen like 5 or 7 minutes. He also had a comment said, so this is a pseudo policy debate. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Keegan, man, we don't need none of your, you feel me, stale white criticisms right now, bro. Right now, this is what you call black excellence. You know what I'm saying? And listen, Keegan, you know, me and you good, you feel me? So I want you to take this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Take this, you know what I'm saying, to like think about it. I know so you're used to this mediocre shit, right? You know what I'm saying? But right now, you're really getting some black excellence. You feel me? So I hope that you are taking this privilege to really basking in the presence, you feel me, of a lot of substantive, full of content arguments that are being made. You know what I'm saying? You know, and Keegan, you feel me? I want you to be like, don't make me look bad, bro. I travel the country doing diversity and inclusion. Listen, fam, as my white friend, you gotta know, bro. You gotta know when to give certain criticisms and when not to give them. That's what happened to Joe Biden now. You know what I'm saying? So listen, hey, you feel me? Yeah. We good though, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, hit me. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's real important for all of the non-black people that's watching. You know what I'm saying? When you comment, no matter how cool you is with me, Marquise, Domo, or any other black in the comment section, remember that you are commenting publicly and that you will be highly scrutinized on what you say, regardless of how accurate it is if you say something about black people. Marquise, whenever you're ready, you got 58 seconds left in this 5-minute prep time.
I'm ready.
You know what I'm saying? And this to be clear, you feel me? Shout out to Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. The issue with what Joe Biden said was not with the accuracy, but with the fact that Joe Biden was the one saying it. You feel me?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm ready. You have 38 seconds, 37 seconds left in your prep time.
No, I'm ready. I've been ready.
All right. I'm ready to go. Well, I'll give you a minute. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't want to cut my rain out. I appreciate you. So you got a minute left for prep. Domo got 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. I'm starting whenever you go. My mic muted.
Okay. I'm gonna begin. Dominique, you've been out of policy debate too long, my brother, to bring up concessions made when I haven't given a rebuttal in the debate. I guess I'll go to Anita Hill for my final comments to some of my perspective on Joe Biden. When asked about the Senate committee hearing, Anita Hill says, I was shocked and dismayed that Joe Biden was asking questions that didn't seem appropriate and was not in her corner as a Democrat. How much longer will you expect to make progress with a candidate or party because of his political affiliations? Our ancestors and mentors have warned us not to believe these individuals because despite their claims, their actions look different. How much longer are we to invest political hope in electoral politics, in particular presidential electoral politics, to provide a change it cannot deliver? Because it was never intended to deliver that type of change we as Black people need in this country. Look, to win this debate, I don't need to win no vote. I just need to win. Don't support Joe Biden, period. And Dominique, the only offense that you have is that there's been an increase in violence due to Trump. Unfortunate argument is non-unique, and I'm going to also straight turn it. There's more likelihood of an increase in conservative violence in a world in which Donald Trump does not win in 2020. If he loses to Joe Biden, they will increase anti-Black violence and terror against Black people, which completely turns your hate crime arguments, which justifies a no vote for Biden. Also, again, he's a racist predator that cannot be trusted. Again, extend all my analysis about his segregationist agenda when he was the head of the Senate committee. And also, you completely drop the neoliberalism argument in the context of his democratic agenda, which means that all of the progressive claims that he made that he claims that he will do, they will not come to fruition. They will actually roll back Black progressive agenda making, just like Obama's first term when he said that he was going to make radical climate initiatives. He was going to do a public option instead of the watered down Obamacare. All those things got rolled back because of the individuals he appointed from John Podesta and the overall Clinton Democratic regime. Joe Biden has shown fidelity to that apparatus, which means you cannot trust the things he says he's going to bring, which means that you have no offense or reason or justification for a Biden vote when he has an empirical record of not being trusted. You should err on the side of the negative that indicates you should hold skepticism toward a known racist and predator. You say we already know that. Well, clearly you don't know enough because the incidents in relationship to Anita Hill, his segregation policies, his fidelity to neoliberalism shows a vote of zero confidence. He does not deserve your ballot. And more importantly, outside of not deserving your ballot, the voting and the political investment we make in electoral politics has hindered our overall progression. Again, cross-apply my Manhattan Institute study since you want to constantly talk about data. It's unfortunate that you concede that argument and indicate it throughout cities like Chicago with Harold Washington and other cities like Detroit, etc. There were Black leadership at multiple levels, state and federal, that did not lead to a progression of Black demands or substantial equity in those spaces. So it begs the question, what does a vote blue do for Black people? What I've said since the beginning of the debate is that it does nothing. The only thing that can be mobilized is rejection. It is through rejection that inaugurates a new fidelity or a new strata of politics that can lead to radical insurgency that is necessary in this moment. There will always be another boogeyman. There will always be Trump. The question is, how do we respond to that outside of electoral politics? How do we begin to build radical mobilizations that are not indebted to the ballot box, but indebted to Black freedom? You care more about your vote than the actual people who are living and dying in the streets that look just like you. Again, we must remove the civil rights nostalgia that makes us indentured to an idea of electoral progression, because unfortunately, those things were not enough. As Thurgood Marshall stood and argued in court for things like Brown v. Board of Education, when people were clapping and celebrating, he said, you have nothing to celebrate. Just as we got this victory, they're already mobilizing to circumvent it. We must understand that it's not about the ballot box, it's about the progressive base that needs to be built. But unfortunately, we live in a society society in which Black progressive agenda is an antagonism to literally American politics. It is an impossibility, and we should not invest in that system. You make the argument about the lower courts in a way Trump has made those worse. Again, your voting for Biden does not resolve that argument because Senate confirmation is needed for that. You've made no argument about a vote for Biden translating into winning the Senate means you can't access any of the benefits of, combating the worst of Trump, because you cannot combat the worst of Trump because you're obsessed with him as a boogeyman and not as a movement that has multiple actors outside of himself, which is why the obsession around Trump, which is your only offensive argument, is a reason you lose, not a reason you win. What else? You keep saying I don't need to apologize for Joe Biden. Okay, you don't have to apologize, but you also don't need to vote for him, which is clearly the point. We should believe Anita Hill. We should believe the stories of his predatory behavior and abstain from supporting this individual in all instances. It is time for some conversation of ethics to return to how we make political decisions. How long will we allow the lesser of two evil framings, these calls for pragmatism, to dictate how we go to the ballot box? It was also pragmatic at a time for Black people to not fight in the streets. It was also pragmatic for Fred Hampton not to mobilize on the west and south side of Chicago, but he did it anyway. He didn't believe in lesser or two evils framing. He believed in a revolutionary Black freedom, something that can never be potentialized through your politics. It can only be actualized through the precursor, which is a rejection of electoral politics in the first instance, which I only allow for because I reject the apparatus of voting and understanding how it is a means of capture, is a means of liquidation. It is a neoliberal trick of time that should not be endorsed. Again, all your data about Black people, Democrat versus conservative, is snapshot data. It has no context. All of my data is in context and analyzes a thorough, robust history, which you didn't disagree with.
And that is time. And what I want to say is, in this debate, you are seeing facts over feelings. I said you are seeing facts over feelings. Go on and comment down below who you think is winning. Hey, right now I'm Juice. You feel me? I think that both of these speakers is really giving y'all, regardless of who y'all think winning, who y'all think losing, a lot of information for y'all to kind of copy and paste and be able to repeat again in your conversation at your barbecue, at your bar. I guess we social distancing right now. So you can say it in your kitchen or say it in your living room, or you can even say it on your Twitter, or you know what I'm saying? So far, I want to know who y'all think it, is one. We've heard a lot about economic stats. We've heard a little bit about Anita Hill. We've heard a little bit about the political ramifications specifically for Black people. We've heard a little bit about, how whether it's Joe Biden, Obama, or Trump in office, it don't matter for Black people because it is, Who do y'all think is winning right now? You know what I'm saying? We
I just want to appreciate Domo, man.
Quis.
I missed you, bro. Hey, I missed this.
Yeah,
oh yeah, I definitely missed it, man. I definitely missed it.
Hey, we a little bit more respectful than we was back in the day, though.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to be a little older, man.
Hold on, I'm making a banner.
This prep time, man.
Nah, this the rapid fire cross X.
Okay. Okay, let me start that. Let me start that time, man. So this right here is the rapid fire cross examination. This is what most the I was under the assumption it was a speech. You feel me? I've been corrected. This is gonna be the cross X where the most engagement goes down. There'll be questions asked, there'll be questions answered. You know what I'm saying? This is what me as the moderator really come in and make sure ain't no loud talking over each other and questions are actually being responded to a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm gonna let them go at it a little bit. You feel me? But whenever y'all ready, I'm gonna start the time. Whenever I hit the first question.
All right. You want to go first, Key?
No, I'm good. You can go first. I'm unsure how this worked for real.
I mean, it's like a cross X. We just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
two.
Nah, just one. It's this.
Okay.
We just about to. Now we just conversing right now.
I feel like you started off because I just ended the speech.
You said what?
I feel like you should start off the question because I just ended the speech.
Okay, yeah, we could do it like that. All right, let's deal with it. What does rejecting the electoral politics do to challenge the impact of conservative policies, specifically Donald Trump's policies on Black communities?
And that's a good question. I think it does everything, in all honesty. We saw through Joe Biden's primary win across multiple southern states that there's a strong fidelity, almost a beholdenness that Black people, especially older Black people, have to Democratic politics. So in rejecting Joe Biden, we begin to show that, hey, that fidelity to Black people that the Democratic Party has turned into a hegemony in electoral politics is diminishing. And because it's diminishing, now we can have different sets of conversations that is key to mobilize a base against Trump.
Okay.
It goes back to my argument I'm making. You're obsessed with the person and not the movement. I'm thinking movements, not person. And that's a key.
Okay. Again, I'll ask you again. For example, Donald Trump's tax plan is carrying on tradition of having a negative impact from conservative policies on Black families in terms of unemployment, in terms of how much money they bring in, all of those types of things. Now, the data that was presented showed that there is a distinct difference between the impact of Republican policies on Black families and Democratic policies on Black families. Now, if we see that there is a better outcome that can be produced by going with a particular candidate, as opposed to allowing the candidate that clearly has the more negative impact on Black families to stay, why would we ignore or deny the opportunity to make the situation easier and still do all the shit that you're talking about?
Man, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up too, because I feel like in terms of my speeches, that was the one area I was most light on. Is the tax.
You was hella light. Hella light.
To be fair, so I guess I'll handle it here.
I was gonna get you on it.
So when it comes to the tax argument, I think ultimately, due to the fact that you conceded the argument about neoliberalism in the context of Biden, their argument is that ultimately, due to COVID-19. Biden will most likely appoint Clinton-style Democrats, and they will defend the need to deal with a balanced budget due to the rampant spending needed for stimulus packages. They're more likely to increase taxes on the poor due to the fact that tons of stimulus funding has been dispersed, because those individuals will shift sides when politically necessary. Again, I've made an overall argument about distrusting known positions regarding tax policies, various policies, because they are all circumstantial. And then also the argument in relationship to that taxes, I just think ultimately the conservative backlash that happens in a world in which Biden wins outweighs any risk of paying more taxes, given your point. You're like, hey, there's this risk of conservative backlash. I'm like, in a world of a Biden win, that's the intent of Biden.
Well, hold on, time out. Now, I want to go back to what you said in terms of the tax plan, right? And neoliberalism.
Yes, sir.
You do understand that I can concede that neoliberalism is bad, but Trump era conservatism policies are worse. That's the idea. Like, that's the issue.
I don't know.
We're not. I mean, we're seeing it. We see it. What you talking about? You feel me? Matter of fact. Actually, let me take a step back. How do you respond to the fact that Ronald Reagan, a conservative, is actually the harbinger of motherfucking neoliberalism to U.S. politics?
I feel that is a thing. I don't know how that's relevant to anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. The conservatism that you are ignoring will still occur, and those policies will still have an impact on Black life.
Oh, I see.
Once you pull away from it.
I'm trying to say, yeah, but see, that's interesting. You bring up Reagan and his influence and that style of economic policy. My argument against the Democratic agenda is because they claim to be anti-Reagan, but they actually have the most Reaganist orientations in how they deal with economic policy. Like, they claim to be progressive and they have this, radical agenda, but it never materializes because behind the scenes, they make concessions in tradition with that Reagan approach to economics. That's what we saw with healthcare. We saw with the auto industry. We saw with the financial bailouts. etc. They all contain, pockets that, the elite were able to manipulate and were able to take advantage of because they believe in the Joe Biden, Obama, Clinton working across the aisle, getting shit done. And that pragmatism is parasitic because it will always come at the expense of the fungible entity, which is Black people. We're the father of the exchange.
Yeah, it's your go, bro.
Okay. So I want to just ask some questions about, I think my first question is about the orientation toward Biden. And you're like, Biden, you need to vote for him because, ultimately Trump is bad news. What else about Biden is worthy of a vote outside of him not being Trump? What else does his vote do?
Again, that's it.
That's it.
Like we see that I can concede that Biden has all these issues. Democrats have all these issues. But comparatively speaking, right, if we abandon democratic politics, if we see political space and just say we're just not going to get involved and allow for Republican policies to run rampant, it will have a more negative effect. So all this building that you're trying to do gets harder because now the people in control of the institutions do more to push back. Now, of course, Biden isn't the savior for Black people. But Biden is easier to work through in terms of being the head of an institution than Trump is. Trump and his policies actively antagonize Blackness. They actively work towards tearing down Blackness. With Democrats, we can at least finesse a scenario where there's some benefit. Does that mean that we're changing the institution as a whole? No. Right. But we can create the concessions that give us the ability to grow, as opposed to constantly having to fight that the worst enemy.
What are those concessions? What allows us to grow? How does that translate into a mobilized base that leads to Black liberation? I'm just trying to understand the internal link chains.
Well, but see, the thing about it is you're focusing the conversation on the criticism of this one group, but we have to deal with these two. With the political parties as they exist,
you said
what?
Both unethical.
Exactly. But guess what? They have a material impact on our lives.
I agree. It's been hell. It's been
exactly, and it can be worse. It can be worse, and it's getting worse.
But that's the thing, though, in terms of it being worse, I don't. So there's the potential for some increase in marginalization.
No, not even potential. We know that it gets worse fucking with them.
Also the potential for marginalization of various communities in the world of Biden. Let's not forget who the Obama campaign's foreign policy strategy, which was heavily influenced by Biden. It was rampant drone strikings of Middle Eastern communities. How do we reconcile that in terms of the ethical debates around Trump versus Biden? Do those lie in a discussion? Because we are short-sighted and snapshotty about how we think about these two candidates, despite the fact that one candidate has a 40-year history in the legislature that shows what to expect. And from that history, I cannot endorse this individual.
So from our perspective, politically, it is not our job to reconcile those things because we shouldn't. Those are things that we should. Those are things that we should have an issue with.
It's not reconciliation. It's acknowledgement, and then using that acknowledgement to inform decision making in the status quo.
Exactly.
And that's for Joe Biden.
And that's how you. But see, that's the point. That's how. When I'm telling you, I don't have an allegiance towards Joe Biden. I'm looking at cost benefit analysis. Who is the worst scenario if we're trying to build as a people? Who gets more in the way? And what we see with Donald Trump, as a part of a trend of Republicans' policies being detrimental to Black people, we see him being a worse scenario with Joe Biden being more manageable.
It's so interesting you use the grammar of cost-benefit analysis in a debate in which one is criticizing neoliberalism and how it leads to unethical policy and decision-making. It's interesting that's your overall framing. I get it, and I think it's bad, it's unethical, and it's anti-Black as fuck, and it's been proven to be so. I think we should move away from cost benefit. We should move away from pragmatism to black liberation as the calculus.
But we should move away from. You said that's time.
Yeah, that was
time right there. It's time.
Man,
it's definitely time. I think
how much prep time I got left?
Man, we
prep
got somebody got a minute left with cross that. I mean, prep time. We got the Domo. Marquis has a minute left. Domo has 2 minutes and 30 minutes left. This is our last speech. This is the closing speech. This is 5 minute speech. This is a 5-minute speech. I hope y'all have enjoyed this little time we spent together. You feel me? I hope that there's been a lot of questions that have been answered. I hope there's also been a lot of questions that you have been given, that you have to sit with, that you have to go find the answers to now. You feel me? Domo will be up first. He'll be giving his closing argument, why he think he won this debate, why he think, you know what I'm saying, we should be voting for Joe Biden, why he thinks that Marquis points, you know what I'm saying, are moot, and why we shouldn't give a damn, and why black people should still be voting for, you know what I'm saying, Joe Biden to get Donald Trump out there by any means. You know what I'm saying?
What's the comments, George? What the people saying right now? What's going on?
Let's see. Man, I start from the bottom. Mason Hamberlin says, I agree with Marquise. That's the argument I'm making. But I guess I got to slow up top of it to need some context. You feel me? Let's see. I'm still next up. Damn, I shouldn't have clicked off. I know Q has said something that Domo, in order for Domo to win her ballot, he needs to be able to address the Anita Hill and also add more warrants to why he believes Joe Biden will net increase the quality of black life. Rashid just said, I want to hear the roll of the ballot by Domo. What does our vote get us? Let it go. Or let us get it, bro. Renewed. Ronak Duck says, how would the cost-benefit analysis function and evaluate who's more anti-black when most of the anti-black violence gets obfuscated, miscounted, and not counted as violence? Question mark. Mason says electoralism under capitalism has been proven historically by the incapable of anything other than breadcrumb recessions. And then Nate said they both do, and that's what's called argument. Christina says that's cute. Marquise thinks that voting is this idealistic expression of self if you even choose to do it. LOL. Voting is not a unique individualistic act of self-expression. It's a political action which you do as a citizen. Period.
All right.
And y'all keep these comments coming in, you know what I'm saying? Domo, man, the time is going down, man.
Let's get it.
I didn't know it was another speech in here for real. I thought the Grand Crossfire was the finale. So
no, you get one with the last 5 minutes, man.
It's a closing.
To be real with you, until everybody kind of understand the debate. This is I feel like what everybody wished for that 3-R. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wished to be able to explain why they think they won and why, you know what I'm saying, their person's best argument don't mean nothing, this, that, and the other. This is what it said right here, Marquis. It's how I would look at this if I was you. That 3-R, that 3-AR, everybody hopes for. But I'm finna spot this time and shut up. Domo, you got 5 minutes.
All right. Oh, where my timer? Hold on. All right, let's get it. All right. So check this out. Biden is a white racist politician. You can't deny that. Politics, especially electoral politics, is filled with that shit. There is no amount of voting that gets rid of that. So if your conversation surrounding a ballot is about challenging some ethical phenomenon, all of that extra super theoretical shit, you wasting your time because it's pointless. That's not what it's for. You thinking too hard and you putting yourself in a position where you're removing yourself from the material reality. Because when it comes to that economic impact of conservative policies, it's like you cutting off your nose to spite your face. I'm mad that I don't like how Democrats move, so I'm allowing the possibility for conservative policies to dictate the economic future of black people. Nobody's saying that voting for Joe Biden solves all of racism in politics. The pragmatism which I know my brother don't like to deal with. But the difficulty of the pragmatism is that you gotta make tough choices. You gotta bite the bullet because you gotta pull through. We dealing with the material, right? And so while I appreciate the theoretical conversation, you know what I'm saying, because of how important it is in terms of shaping the material reality, we have to deal with the material reality as it is. You feel me? There is no answer for Black people in terms of reconciling our issue with him and Anita Hill and his past of you know, creepy pedophile shit. But the fucking president we have now is on tape saying he grabbed women by the vagina. Because we don't like Joe Biden and his weird creepiness, don't mean we should allow Donald Trump to keep his creepiness and control the economic impacts of Black people. It's worse. You can have the conversation of Democrats, but when it comes to who we should support or what should we, an abandonment does not make us immune of conservative policies. An abandonment does not mean that all of a sudden, when racist policies are passed that negatively impact Black people, when there is a cultural shift because of a certain politician that negatively impacts Black people, that shit still happens. And if we have an ability to mitigate those circumstances, we should do it as a part of our larger strategy. Voting for Joe Biden doesn't mean that you can organize and speak against his ass. Go back to look at, hey, I'm a shameless plug. Go back and look at some of my earlier political plug videos. I've been getting in Joe Biden ass. You niggas is late to the party. I was getting in Joe Biden ass even when he was talking about having Stacey Abrams as his running mate, even before he was even a fucking candidate. So we can be critical. But my support or my ballot for Joe Biden doesn't mean I support Joe Biden. My ballot is a strategic choice to mitigate circumstances in a way that are more beneficial for Black people. Because there is a sect in politics known as the Conservative Party that is actively racist. Liberal racism, we need to challenge, but it's easier to finesse. We can manipulate liberals. We have more leeway in terms of things that we can get out of that. That's not saying it's solving the racism. It can't. It's the game. When you play the game, you understand the consequences. That's a part of it. And so whether you do it one way or the other, whether you vote or whether you not vote, there is an impact that reverberates from ballot boxes. And to just say, well, because I don't like a particular candidate, I'm not going to involve myself, means that you will allow the worst case scenario out of spite, out of being smart. You feel me? How much time I got left?
You got 40 seconds left, man. Why you win this debate? You got 40 seconds left, man. Why you win?
I mean, shit, it's a matter of strategy. It's a question of how do we mitigate the current circumstances in a way that makes future strategies more beneficial. Republicans like Donald Trump make shit harder. Period. Biden is the lesser of two evils. Period. Was that less than 40 seconds? My timer was fucked up.
Yeah. Well, you got 5 seconds left, but you know.
Yeah. Nah, that's it. Yeah, we good. That's the closing.
That's the time right there, man. Marquise got 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? That ain't that long at all right there. So we got need to hear in this conversation. Weird. Abandoning the political leads. Alt-right field has been so real, along with the postmodern rejection of science that it leads to conservative takeover. The co-op also turned out to be hella true. Dwayne Martin says not investing in electoral is not abandonment. Rashid said that abandonment argument is tough. Keegan says, does your state based off of and sub-electoral college based on counties, is that not total votes for the state? And he was saying that in relationship to Nate saying something about, for example, he said it's also They say it's also just like, why should black people whose county is already decided vote? Question mark. For instance, Maryland will go blue, so why should I vote to care? Or at least my individualistic expression can reject Joe even if he wins. That's Marquis preparation time. The last thing I'll say though before you get ready to get on, right now, all three people that is on this is in 3 different time zones right now in America. You feel me? We got East Coast, Central Time, and what's that? I guess that what you did, West Coast time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What is it? What is the official? Is it West Coast time?
Pacific.
Pacific.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How much but yeah, man, I thought that's pretty dope. You feel me? Shout out to, you know what I'm saying? We got a little nationwide debate right here. So we see how this, I feel like there are many different perspectives that come. Marquis from Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Domo from Kansas City. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, how much time I got?
Shout out to everybody down there. You feel me? But hey, Marquis, you ready for you?
How much time do I got?
5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
5 minutes.
All right. Since Domo has a reluctance to talk about Anita Hill, I'm going to keep bringing her up, and maybe he'll have some time later on to discuss her. I'll go back to her comments when speaking on Joe Biden during the Senate committee hearing. Anita Hill says, again, I was shocked and dismayed that Joe Biden was asking questions that didn't seem appropriate and was not in her corner as a Democrat. Dominique, that's the reason you lose this debate. You've conceded that Joe Biden is more likely to turn against his progressive agenda toward black people and can lead to more anti-black harm. Again, you've conceded all of my arguments about the neoliberal turn in politics and why Obama, Biden, Clinton-style Democrats have actually led to an increase in anti-blackness toward black people in very material ways. Again, I don't have to win that you should not ever vote. I just need to win. Don't vote for Joe Biden because that's a particular style of politics that's uniquely bad. We call that argument a floating picking debate, which Domo has conceded. There's no way you can vote for him. Also, he can drop the straight turn to conservative backlash this ad that a win for voting for Biden and he wins will lead to an increase in conservative violence that will lead to material violence against black people. Again, with that argument drop, he has no offense in this debate outside of, hey, there might be an increase in taxes, which I've also turned with the neoliberalism turn argument that despite that increase in taxes, Obama, Clinton-style Democratic agendas will also use market forces to antagonize black communities. We see that with their orientation toward prisons. We also see that to how they orient themselves to surveillance-style politics that they think community development means pro-gentrification, pro-putting police cameras in black communities, etc. That's the style of their neoliberalism that they couch under this sort of liberal democratic agenda making. Again, you drop all these arguments. Also, you drop that voting for Biden, voting against Biden is actually key to mobilize a new era of politics. The traditional Democratic Party is imploding. It is dying. So a vote for Biden allows it to still win and exist. If he loses this election, it will be forced to move further to the left, which might lead to some progressive material gains in which voting could actually make a difference. But your vote in the 2020 election derails those efforts. That's more of a reason you fundamentally just lose the debate. Also, you can see that there's no agenda for Biden outside of no against Trump, which means that there won't be any substantial changes during his presidency. Why? Because your boogeyman going against Trump does not translate to congressional elections and other election cycles, which are necessary for any substantial change for black people. So even if you take out Trump, that will just galvanize his base. Trump will rerun in 2024, win because he has a base, a movement, not just get out Joe Biden, is get out these type of people with their demands for rights, etc. Which is, again, it's important to do mobilization and think parties and not individuals. I get it, Domo. You're a believer in the power to vote. I get it. You believe in some materialism. Unfortunately, we've tried that trick and pony already, and it has not delivered. It is time for us to mobilize the vote in a different direction through absences. We must see the power in negation. Negation is powerful because it doesn't mean negation forever. It just means negation in this instance to mobilize a potential affirmation that can be beneficial toward our people. Listen, I believe in folks like Mayor Woodfin in Birmingham, Alabama, or Chewy Garcia in Chicago, or Keena Collins, who's from the west side of Chicago. Those Those are people in local elections that are fighting. So please don't understand my argument is just some nihilistic disposition against voting in all instances. It's actually more nuanced than that. It is against the traditional democratic hegemony that has suffocated any real progressive agenda for Black people in this country. I think through the politics of rejecting Biden in this instance could actually mobilize a new strata of politics that's necessary to confront this particular moment of militarization within the alt-right movement. And to Black people, we gonna be all right. We know one thing about the American project, and that is terror. From the Emancipation Proclamation that granted freedom that was denied, to the failure of Reconstruction and the dilution of the Civil Rights Movement and the rise of the prison industrial complex, terror is a constitutive element of our existence. Don't allow fear to determine political affiliation. Allow principle and conviction to do that. How much longer will you allow fear and terror to determine our political futurity? You say we know Biden is racist. Again, it's not just Biden is racist. He has a history of terror against women, in particular Black women, that he must be held accountable for. You, Domo, in particular, should reject him just on that principle alone. And the fact that you don't is a problem. It's something you must reconcile with. Also, your economic impact is mute. It does not lead to nearly the material consequences that not mobilizing a base in this particular moment is needed. Also, you talk about pragmatisms again, that neoliberalism thought experiment of pragmatic cost-benefit analysis. It was what strangleholds Black demands and will always keep us indentured to their way of going about the world. Do not vote for Joe Biden. Vote for Blackness. You feel me? Through negation.
Hey man, say that's time. Hey, Marquise, man, listen. I know that you have said that you do not want to be on camera, man. But I believe that what we have just witnessed is beautiful. And I think that we need to just give the visual, bro, of just 3 Black men real fast in the conversation that we just had, bro. Because I think that it's powerful, man. I think that these last 2 rebuttals y'all just gave, I think that we need to let the people put, you know what I'm saying, a face to a name and a voice and some elegant points. You know what I'm saying? Just like a little 2 seconds, just a little what's good.
I'm too rough out here, man.
But I want to give as far from the camera as you need to be, fam. Just please, you know what? I respect the note too.
It's all good, but no, I want to thank you, man, for moderating it. You did a fantastic job. I want to thank my boy Domo for coming in with the fire, man. I appreciate you as always, man. We got to do more of this.
Yeah, man. It's I mean, because at the end of the day, you feel me? We really agree, you know what I'm saying, in most places. Like, this is really just a question of how we do it, you know what I'm saying, how we go about shit. So
100%.
you know what I'm saying, like like information came out, and that's what's most important. Do y'all want to do, you know what I'm saying, like, niggas want questions from the chat? Y'all got time? Like, what's y'all time look like?
I can do that.
Man, I got about 6 minutes, man, to do a Q&A. Y'all got to get in here with the wife and kids.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, yeah, if y'all got any questions y'all want to ask either me, Marquise, or George while he here for the time being, we can take another.
Nick, you mixed the Nick, but this debate will be posted on the Chop Ups Facebook page as well as the Chop Ups YouTube, and of course myself, Domo, and Marquise will be sharing it on our Facebook pages. You know what I'm saying? And, in terms of this link and or you feel me when it's shared to the YouTube, but definitely this debate will be shared.
Yeah, again, thank you for
Nate, Domo says, Domo says, y'all link the studies. And to Marquise, can you link the studies onto this, you know what I'm saying, in the comment section? Y'all get a chance, you feel me?
Okay.
Let me
drop the links, drop the sources, you feel me? It's facts over feelings.
Yeah. I got the 3 right here. The 4 that I pulled up.
Get a chance, definitely drop that in the comment section. That way, the people that's watching this debate, especially on Facebook, if any way, will be able to watch it or be able to access that stuff, access those. And if you're watching this debate on YouTube, you know what I'm saying, you can get you can find us on Facebook at the Chop Up, you know what I'm saying, show. Just at the Chop Up, you know what I'm saying, at the Chop Up on Facebook, you'll be able to find those links. Somebody might be nice too on Facebook and go post those onto the YouTube, just so people that's on YouTube will also be able to get this information. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, I need to find a way to just post it. Yeah. I find while we still here, I find a way to post the links, and then Nate, if it's any that if you want to specifically, then I don't post it. Just let me know. Yeah, but we got a question from Keegan. Marquise, Keegan said, "How bad does it need to get before that political mobilization happens? You think?"
How bad does it need to get before the
Yes,
mobilization?
sir.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's a question of like severity of situation because for Black people, the state of emergency has always been the case for us politically. I think that it's more so a question of how do we move away from the fidelity we have to the two-party system in this country and to the democratic hegemony and how it's stifled a lot of Black progressive mobilization. I don't think it's a question of badness or severity. It's a question of become disentangled from the promises of freedom that the Democratic Party has touted.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree with that either. I do think that in terms of what Keegan is talking about, I mean, it's just like a simple. It's when it comes to voting, ain't nobody ever gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Like this same, we'll have this same conversation with all other with other candidates. You know what I'm saying? And it's always gonna be, the next one or this other one. Now, there's certain fundamental things that got to change from my perspective. Like I always say that starting the conversation of Black political engagement from the perspective of voting is you already like behind the eight ball. Like it's you way behind the game if we're not doing the political conversation before we even putting the candidate out there. You know what I'm saying? Like a part of what Malcolm X talked about in terms of political maturation was not it wasn't just not accepting the candidates they gave us, but it was giving like have people from our communities being the people that we vote for. You feel me? And that second half, like, yeah, we can have a rejection, but we also got to do that second half where we actually put in, grooming politicians.
I believe in the grooming process, but again, when it comes to social media and the virality of the presidential election, it really subsumes some of those efforts. We don't see as much engagement about some of those.
Hey, Marquise, your mic a little muffled.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to fix that though. Can you hear me now? Or?
Yeah.
You good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just think we need more attention to those people at the lower levels of electoral politics, and I think becoming obsessed about the presidential election actually does that a disservice. Because it comes.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, we can definitely talk about folks who are doing radical stuff in Kansas City, Port Arthur, Texas, Chicago at a micro level, and then that changes the vote conversation for me. But the vote conversation at the macro level of Trump versus Biden, my mind is made up. Fuck the 2020 election. Fuck a Biden vote and a Trump vote. I'm not voting, and I stand on it.
Mason Hamblin said he wanted me to elaborate on the economic relief I believe Biden will bring because no matter Democrat or Republican, working class people live check to check. I think that's the part that that gets missed in this conversation from my perspective is that the relief is in the what the alternative is. So it's like, yes, like let's even because even when Biden get elected, just because I vote for Biden doesn't mean that I'm not on his ass and critical of everything that he's doing in terms of, what I'm saying, how he moves. Because at the end of the day, he the next nigga that I got to get in this shit because I also recognize everything that's being said. It's just a question of dealing with Trump or dealing with Biden. I'd rather deal with Biden because, and I mean, and one thing I want to address is the question of Anita Hill isn't.
Can y'all hear me better now? Put in headphones.
Yeah. Okay, you better. So it's not like it's a question of the lesser of two evils is always, all right, this car is going. It's not like I can't stop it. You feel me? All I could do is steer it one way or another. You feel me? So do I want to go off the cliff on this side or do I want to go off the cliff on this other side? You feel me? So it's like
something that I think that now I don't know if you've seen that or not, but for the record, somebody Christina Marie put that Anita Hill put that said that she will be voting for Joe Biden. So, I don't know what that means in terms of Marquis' argument or your argument. You feel me?
I mean, but
think
you know, it
it's
really
important
don't
on the
it really
conversation.
don't change the argument, right? Like, and that's
Yeah,
the thing. It don't change the argument at all. And I actually seen that comment, but I specifically didn't use that because it don't change shit, right? Like, I don't want to mute or moot the conversation of Anita Hill. That's a conversation that should be had. Like, we can get it. You know what I'm saying? We can get in that. We can get in this shit. Like, that's something that he don't get a pass in. But the thing about it is, when we have this, like, this forced choice, and we got to go this way or this way, I'd rather go this way than allow this way to happen.
Okay. Hey, so
George Bryan said, yeah.
Say Rubai said, where you get some gear out in the showing the George Lee Speaks gear, man. GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. I got everything from hoodies to t-shirts to long sleeves to mugs, man. I got multiple designs. You can get this hoodie in multiple different colors. You can get this design also in multiple different colors on a t-shirt and on the long sleeve. And you also got 4 different. I also got 3 other different designs. You know what I'm saying? And I got another design coming out soon. You know what I mean? Make sure you check me out. Also, if you're looking to book me or get me to moderate your debate, get me to facilitate or do some workshops, so you know what I'm saying. Look to get in one of my platforms. Holler at me on GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think too. Like, and just on the Anita Hill question, I think in terms of her saying that she could see herself voting for Biden, we must also think about Anita Hill in the context of her being a Black woman and being a professional in the environment in which she came up in. Black women who come from a certain time period and a certain place professionally fundamentally don't see rejection style politics as necessarily the best orientation to politics. And I can respect that, but I'm not of that era. I'm of a fundamentally different era, and I could potentially see, some value in that approach. But also you must understand the context in which Anita Hill was saying that. She's saying that when Joe Biden is winning across multiple primaries throughout the South and is looking to be the Democratic nominee, it's almost as if she didn't have a choice but to say that. What does it mean for her not to say that? Right, and what options do that leave her? So we must think about the context in which people are saying things and how speech can be coercive.
And I want to say this too. I think it's hard for me when we have these conversations, is because, and I ain't want to be Boosie. I ain't gonna lie. I want to be Boosie and be like, perm Marquise, perm, do both. criticize that nigga for Anita Hill and still vote for him. You feel me? Like, but
I'm glad you say that, bro, because I feel like in my mind when he first said it, I was like, yeah, to be honest with you, I would have tried to make the argument one way or another, but when he said it out loud, it's like, no.
Yeah, right, no. Right. Right. It's like, no, you feel me? Like, no, I'm not gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I spent my prep time trying to figure out, like, am I gonna go that route? Nah, I'm not gonna go that route. I ain't gonna do that. But I mean, because what I want to say is that essentially that's kind of like I say politics is like a dirty game. You feel me? Like you it's not ethical. And I mean, I know we want it to be ethical, and I'm with anybody that's like we need to move towards more ethical politics. But when politics is something that has like it's like an immediate concern, and we got what we want politics to look like, we also got to figure out how to move in the swamp. It be like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. Is that it, y'all? That's the end?
Yeah, man. I gotta get ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got any last things y'all want to say?
No, I just want to thank y'all again for hosting this. I want to thank the people for watching, and hopefully I can get back on here again in the future.
Yeah, man. And maybe that time, you feel me, we'll be able to see, the visual, get some face, literally like some, because like, damn, you feel me, we could have had a nice little visual going on right here with 3 Black men on this thing talking about some politics and engaging the Black community.
Hey, George,
you know what I'm saying?
You see what the pictures say? Because I ain't voting for Biden, I ain't Black. So, that's why I got
Are you Black enough to vote for Biden?
I guess not, man. I guess not.
Nah, hell no. That's why he didn't want to turn on his camera. He was ashamed. He wasn't supposed to be in these circles, nigga.
Exactly.
Your car getting revoked, nigga. Hey, but it's been real. This was dope. Hey, y'all hit us up on the Chop Up page if y'all wanted to, you know what I'm saying? If you want to set something up, because this is our first, know what I'm saying, chop up debate, but we definitely want to do more of these and bring on more folk to have these important ass conversations. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's been the chop up. Y'all be easy. Y'all make sure y'all follow the chop up on all social media shit. Political plug on all social media shit. The political plug. And consciously speaks. And we out. That's it.
Yeah, man.